Okay, so this is going to be quick and it's going to be a tips and tricks and just so you know sort of video. Right? So I've gone in and I've inserted all of the information for all of the lights. I haven't necessarily assigned all of my label legends yet, but we'll get to that. Right? So what I want to do first of all is talk to you about where the label legends and containers are stored. Now that you've created label legends and used containers, Vectorworks has automatically added two folders to your file. One of them says containers and the other says label legends. And if you were to click on the folder that says label legends, you'll see the three label legends: vertical ERS, side, and those are all have just been added. By right clicking on them, you could also duplicate them, delete them, or rename them if you need to, right? So they're just in a folder. The containers also, here's our circle, here's our hexagon, there's the oval, the square. So these simple shapes have been added as the containers that you use in your label legend, right? You don't want to move any of these shapes or the label legends out of the folders in which they've been placed. Make sure you just leave them there. But if you need to edit them, if you start using channels in the thousands or the 100s, you may need something a little wider than a circle, which is why I sort of wound up creating an oval. And a long hexagon, right? So this is just, that's where that is. Now, let's talk a little bit about tips and tricks. Right, so the first thing is if we're making global changes to something, right? If we're making changes to everything all at once, we can select multiple fixtures at a time. For example, this little light up here in the corner and this one down here, even though I've entered text information for them, I actually need to go ahead and assign them to a label legend. So I'm going to just go ahead and select the two lights. That was just a shift select. Label legend. I'm going to assign both of them to my side with my little caret pointing to stage left and say OK. Well, poof, all that information just showed up. Same thing applies to these two on this other side. Let's go ahead and go to Spotlight, Label Legend, Assign Label Legend. We'll use our side pointing the other direction and say OK. Poof, all of our information is there. Now, we had all these PARs and we have these ERSs that are all pointing downstage. And they are all using that same vertical ERS, both the PARs and these juniors that are in the back that do the gobos. They are all doing the same label legend, and they seem to be working. So I'm not really going to mess with success. Right now, real quick, a note on gobos. If you go over here and look, all of our information is kind of right up at the beginning. Here's our purpose, position, color, all of that information. But to get to gobo, you have to go way down, and you'll see that gobo 1 is underneath of weight, right? And we can put in multiple gobos, but we're never gonna, right? So gobo 1, and this is where you enter that gobo number, 77916, right? So this is all good. Now, I have some information that's missing, and that would be the unit number. Now, we took great care to hang all of this equipment on a specific position, right? On the first electric, on the second electric. How about on the third electric? Now, I could go through and manually number these, 1, 2, 3. It just would make me sad. If I click on the lighting position, I have an option over here for auto number. And I can decide which way I would like it to go. I could go from right to left, or I can go from left to right. Now they're talking about screen right to left, not stage. So we actually do want to go from the right to the left, and I just click auto number and watch what happens. Voila, they all appear. Let's go to my next electric right back here. Auto number, and voila, my numbers appear automatically. Now, it looks like I numbered my first electric just fine and my second electric just fine. What about our vertical pipes? Typically, we number vertical pipes away from the plaster line. So if it's front of house and there's a horizontal pipe, we would number away from the plaster line, with 1 being closest to the plaster line. Vertical positions that are upstage of the plaster line number going upstage. So in this one, we're not going to want to number left to right. We're going to want to number from the bottom to the top. And now I just say auto number, and look, there's unit 1 and 2. This only has 1 unit. This only has 1 unit. This one is misnumbered. So let's just go in and change that and say from bottom to top, auto number, and look, it changed from 12. Now, if you want, you can go through, and it's actually pretty good practice. If you change all of the positions that run vertically to their new orientation, Vectorworks will remember that. So even if I go back and have to renumber again, I don't need to change the direction. It knows that this position numbers from the bottom to the top, auto number, and it knows that my first electric numbers from right to left, right? So that's a little bit about auto numbering. Now here's the last little thing that we want to talk about on label legends. They're not perfect. And if you'll look, you'll see that everything is sort of just a cluster right around here, and there's just not quite enough room for everything that I want to do. If I select the light, you'll see that there's a little blue dot that's in the middle of that no color. There's a little blue dot that appears inside of my instrument number, inside of this purpose, inside of the channel number and the dimmer number. And what this allows me to do is to grab that one attribute, that one tag, and I can move just that one thing independent of the label legend. So let's grab the color for our zoom and let's pull it back off to the side. I know it's not where everything else is, but right now it's just so clumped up here that I can't read it. And then this backlight has got its text information over top of that zoom. So let's just go ahead and pull it back a little bit, right? So it just is a way to clean up. And if you just select the light, the little blue handles will appear. And if you just get that diagonal line, you can move things around however you want, right? And that concludes label legends.